Well, hello there. Kedra here as a DM for Id Scape Games. I've been a dungeon master for ages and realized that it might be time to pass on some of my knowledge and experiences to help others join the crazy world of being the dungeon master. Today, we're going to be looking at some of the bad advice that seems to be gaining traction here on YouTube and in other forums. Balance, power, rewards, what to give and not give your players. And mind you, these are just my opinions. Greetings, DMs, players, murder hobos, and any others interested in learning more about Dungeons & Dragons. Welcome to Id Scape Games, tips, tricks, and tutorials. Here we will be discussing ideas, theories, and good practices for practical and fun DM use in the everyday D&D campaign. As always, I'll be sharing a lot of information that I feel will be helpful for you to know. I also want to hear from you. What are you interested in learning more about? What challenges have you come across? Have you had any situations where you've given the players something that you just don't have any idea how to encounter? Let us know and we'll make sure to take the almighty help action. And be sure to subscribe and tag that notification bell to get all the up-to-date videos as they release. So, lately I've been seeing this crazy fad of dungeon masters saying, don't give out magic items that are too powerful, or lists of magic items that I will never give my players because they are too broken. And I would suspect that this is due to a combination of balance, power, and more often than not, DM irritation. Now, as we noted in our DM 101 guidelines video, right over here, feel free to click there if you haven't seen that and start off on the ground floor with the series. We've talked about balance. Balance is a fallacy, an illusion, specifically your illusion, as you present encounters and challenges to the players. Going off the CR method, challenge rating that is, in the DMG sounds lovely in theory, but doesn't quite work well in practice. I'm sure you've all seen those videos floating around about the most powerful creature of whatever level, and they tend to be a good hard look at the outlier option. Heck, let's be honest, there are a lot of outlier options. But what your group is capable of handling will never be as simple as the average party level calculation versus the encounter difficulty calculation. It simply can't be. There are so many class, subclass, race, subrace, feat, spell, and equipment choices that it just doesn't work correctly. New players to the game using vanilla PHB options are vastly different from battle-hardened min-max munchkins who've seen the rise and fall of empires, worlds, and even gods over their D&D player career. Mind you, it is a great guideline to start off with, but as you play, you'll develop your own deeper sense of what you and your players are capable of handling together. And that's what I'm here to help with. That little mini rant aside, the challenge you present to your parties will wax and wane with every new level, loot drop, and gold piece they end up accumulating. The higher that gets, the crazier things will become on the DM front, which is why I understand that some DMs will have trouble with certain drops being made available to players. But everything, and I do mean everything, has an option for you to counter it. Some may be more esoteric than others. What do you mean esoteric is a big word? Fine. Some may be a little more arcane, mysterious, obscure than others. Better? My wife says so. When it comes to direct power of magical items that a player receives, and yes, some are inherently more powerful than others. Is a Cloak of Displacement better than a +1 set of their current armor? Yep, hands down it sure is. Some DMs have an irrational hatred for Displacer cloaks, but are willing to hand out +1 armor, shields, rings, cloaks of protection, etc., which all if stacked on a character has as much, if not roughly the same amount of long-term impact, especially if you have a party that understands AC is king. We'll touch on that little gem in a future video, but I'm a bit obsessed. But both of those options still have a counter to alleviate how powerful they are. Let's look at the simplest option. An option available even to a first-level arcane-style caster. Good old Magic Missile. Magic Missile hits, does some minor damage, but most importantly, it always hits. Always. So that Displacer Cloak means nothing in the grand scheme of things. And any AoE that has, when you successfully save, you take half damage, does the same. AoE specifically is area of effect. Both of those automatically bypass armor, Displacer Cloak or not, and in the case of the Cloak, disables its function until the start of the character's next turn. Poof, done, taken care of, finito. That said, when dealing with encounters, be aware of your action economy. Generally speaking, I will have all of my monsters on the same initiative turn, unless there is a boss who will have its own initiative in the lineup. Have your caster attack first, drop that Cloak of Displacement effect, and then have your melee mobs come in to do their job. This is how you can combat this style of overpowered effect. This sort of counter can be applied to every single magic item. Give your players a wand of magic missiles that they like to burn all but the last charge at the start of every combat. Give your boss monster a flavor burst of wizard with that shield spell once or twice a day. Now, if they end up firing off that wand against a low-level monster option, that still gives your boss monster a get out of jail free card twice a day with that +5 AC bump on reaction. All of these options you will want to use sparingly. Not every encounter should have a counter to all of what the players are using. Doing so will leave them feel defeated at every turn, and they're there playing your game because they're trying to have a good time. Using countering tactics for your larger, more tenuous battles will lend to the fact that your NPCs are not just your run-of-the-mill minion fodder that they have been facing throughout the dungeon, and bring dramatic tension of the battle up a notch or two. This in turn will make the players think about their choices, how they want to engage things, and if they need to be a bit more careful on how to go about crafting their own combat tactics, rewards, and what not to give your players. Don't be afraid of rewarding your players crazy things. Do, however, think about what you're rewarding them, why it's being rewarded, why my husband is an immature 5-year-old, and what ramifications and counters you may need to prepare in case they opt to make it a one-trick pony tactic in every combat going forward. Wait a minute, I don't remember writing that. Honey! Alright. Now, some things should be left to later levels. Most legendary items are meant for legendary warriors. That doesn't mean that they can't be given out at lower levels, but that does mean you will inherently be increasing the power structure of everything that you throw at your party at an earlier level. Don't be afraid of those items that you've heard can just wreck your game. I would wager you and most of your players will have seen the overabundance videos, posts, tweets, and memes on the deck of many things. This is a great example. Given early in the campaign, before the players have a real vested interest in their characters, you will see them pulling as many cards as they can just to see what happens. Mid to later levels, this will tend to have them feeling just a bit more trepidatious on the chances of pulling a bad card, but still gives you the chance to have fun with the item. Nothing in the set of cards is so overpowered that it cannot be integrated into a fun game. Many will even force the characters to engage in new quests just to retrieve their friends either from an unknown location or from the grips of death itself. Anything can be given to your players. Just give it a bit of thought before you do and understand the potential consequences of doing so, along with the direction that you might want to take the game in certain cases. Donjon card, I'm looking at you with this one. Now, if you want to make sure that you're up to date on all ways to improve your game sessions as a DM, make sure to hit that subscribe button somewhere on the page, tag that notification bell, and smash that thumbs up button.